Already, yes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good, thanks.
So, is this your first day on Gili Trawangan, or how long have you been here?
Yesterday.
So you arrived yesterday. So did you go out last night?
Yeah.
Was everybody hungover? Yeah. All right. So you're here at Horses of Gili. We are a not-for-profit charity. It's organized by Indonesia. It's called the Yayasan. My name is Victoria Taylor, and I founded this charity in 2015. It was a long time ago. I have a 4-year degree in animal science. I have a 2-year degree in equine science. I'm an animal behaviorist, and I'm a registered veterinary technician, and I also have a business degree. So I originally came to the island to manage a dive center. I did not come to the island to create a giant horse rescue. But when I came to the island, one of the reasons that moving here appealed to us was that, whatever the small human is, was that there was horses here and motorized vehicles are not allowed. So local law and national law here bans motorized vehicles of any kind. Now I realize you're going to see electric scooters on the island right now, but they are illegal. The law states if they come and do a raid while you're riding one, you can go to jail for 5 months or pay a fine of $50 million. They're only allowed for transport for rubbish, for the electrical infrastructure, and for the fire department. And that's it. All the others are illegal. They do come once a month, once every 2 months. They round them all up. Lots of people get fined and go to jail, and then they all come back because people keep paying for them and don't do any research on the laws. So they are illegal. We strongly discourage the use of them. This island is unique, or these 3 islands are unique, because only 4 islands in the world actually ban motorized transport, and we're 3 of the 4, so it makes us unique. Plus, in reality, our electrical infrastructure does not support those motorized scooters. We have very poor electricity here, and that means that the standard voltage is supposed to be 220, but we usually have a voltage of between 160 and 190, sometimes 200. When you have a chronic low voltage like that and you're charging lithium batteries, the batteries burn out very quickly and they don't work anymore. So these scooters have a lifespan of about 2 months on the island before the batteries are destroyed. All of us have been taught how damaging lithium and the chemicals in the batteries are to the environment. And guess where all those batteries are? They're in the dump, just leaching into the ground, which is going into the ocean. They are not good for the environment. Electric vehicles only work in an environment where the batteries can be maintained properly and disposed of properly, and that is not this environment. So we strongly discourage their use because they are causing more harm than good. And if people want to say the horses are exploited, where they are, which they are not, the people making those batteries are exploited. And we all know that. We all know that things like that manufactured in China and other countries, people are exploited and are paid pennies on the dollar to work with very dangerous chemicals. So that's my spiel about electric scooters. Don't use them. They're bad. Horses, they're great. Use them. They're green. You're from the UK, right? Your country was founded on horses. You still use horses to this day. 10% of your economy still relies on working animals for harvesting things where motorized vehicles are not allowed, for gathering trash in certain villages. There's many, many uses where horses are still working animals in your own country. And across the world, 90% of equines in the world are still working animals. 10% are the pets and the show horses. 90% are working. So this is not a developing country thing. This is the way the world works thing. Animals are part of our world. And it's important that we as humans recognize that, and we as humans learn how to understand how to tell if animals are abused or neglected, or if animals are being used as they were intended when we domesticated them, and if they're being cared for humanely. Does that make sense? Lots and lots of people are like, oh, they should all be free, they should be pets. The reality is no. So working animals have been bred for thousands of years by humans for specific needs. It wasn't until the last 100 years that we had all the motorized things we have now. So we bred dogs for hunting, right? Everyone knows that. And the dogs would go out and flush the game, and the man would shoot the game, and then the dog would retrieve the game, and that's how they got food. Or we bred dogs to herd cattle because we needed cattle for food, and the dogs would go out and herd the cattle or herd the sheep. In the UK, there's a lot of sheep, right? Dogs are used to do these things. Now, if you take those dogs, or police dogs, everyone's seen a police dog, right? You take these dogs and you put them in a home as a pet, and they don't get to exhibit the natural instincts they're bred for, what happens? They go crazy. What do? Do they bite people? Does the police dog try to bite because it's been bred to bite for 100 years? Does the herding dog try to herd your children back into the yard when they leave? Does the hunting dog hunt every single animal? They do that because that's what they were bred to do, right? We can't take that out of them because we created those breeds. We're responsible for them. The same goes for working horses. There are many, many breeds of horses. In this instance, these breeds of horses go back by DNA to the Mongolian and the Kazakhstan horses. So these are ancient Asiatic breeds. These horses have been bred for over probably 1,000 years to do light draft work. They haven't been bred to be pets or for their personality. They haven't been bred to be ridden. They've been bred to pull carts. And you know what they're good at? Pulling carts. You know what they're terrible at? Being pets. Most of the little ponies you see pulling the carts are not going to be friendly creatures. They're not friendly. You can't pet them. You can't cuddle them. We get ones that we try to retire from cart pulling, and we end up having to still have them work a few hours a week because they go crazy in their stalls. And they pace, and they fret, and they chew, and they bite, and they kick because it's so bred into their instinct. They need this job. And they like it. I know it sounds crazy, but they like the work. So we have a horse we just recently rescued named Ozzy. And Ozzy was a dancing horse. And that's where you see where they put the reins on them really tight and they make them prance by beating them in the back and they look really stupid. Okay, Ozzy was a dancing horse, which is a really cruel practice. We rescued him from far, far away in North Lombok. And we're like, we'll rescue him from this. He'll be a riding horse. He doesn't really like riding. And Ozzy was starting to develop some bad habits. He was chasing after the other horses. He was chewing on his stall. He was kicking. So I said, you know what, let's try him on a cart. We put Ozzy on a cart, and that horse's whole demeanor changed. He went from like, to, and he's like, and he's just trotting down the road, ears forward, tail up, happy as shit. That child. So we put him on a cart, and he's just happy as shit. Just loves it. Brought him out 2 days later, and he's heading for the cart. He wants to. People can't say they don't enjoy work because this horse wants to do it. He loves it. He hates standing here being retired. So I can't make him stand here being retired. He'll move our horse food. So horses, animals like to do the things they do. And this is something we as humans have to learn to accept. Now, I understand that it's very confronting when people come to a foreign country and the first thing you see when you get off the boat is a line of horses waiting and working. And it's very confronting to people. And you're very hot, right? Because what's the average temperature in the country you are from? How much? 10 degrees? 20? It's cold, right? The average temperature here is 30. If you lived here, you would be acclimated to this temperature and you wouldn't be hot, would you? Because you were born here. Where's our guide? Hello? Yes. Is it hot? Not to you.
Not really.
No. And we will see our guides wearing sweatshirts and hoodies and long pants and boots while we are wearing crop tops and shorts and we are pouring in sweat. So we have to take that into consideration when we say, oh, the horses are hot. They're not. They're used to this environment. They're not hot. Matter of fact, most of them do not sweat because they're acclimated to the environment. And they get very cold when it rains, and we sometimes actually have to blanket them because they get so cold when it rains. So they're not hot, first thing. 2, they're not abused. Work is not abused. How many people here have a job? Raise your hand. All right, most everyone. Is your job abuse? It's a job, but are they beating you? Are they hurting you? Are they starving you? No, it's just your job, right? So we all have jobs of one kind or another, and we can agree that we may not always like our jobs, but our jobs are not necessarily abused. We get lunch breaks, we get to eat, we don't have to work 24/7, right? And with our jobs, it enables us to have a home. and travel and do things. Working animals are the same. They have jobs for a reason. Their jobs are to enable their owners to have a home and to exist. And we are the privileged people that get to travel. They are not the privileged people. They don't get to travel. They can't afford to travel. They merely exist and help support our economy. And this is worldwide. So we can't say that work is abuse. It's not. Now what we can say is work without breaks or work with malnourished animals or beating animals. This is abuse. But we ensure this doesn't happen. So we work with the local government and we have loads of rules and regulations in place. First of all, the horses are only allowed to work 4 hours per day. And this is monitored by GPS. So they clock in, they clock out. They have to go to the main office. They have to clock in and clock out. They have to show what horse is working. And that horse works 4 hours. When that shift is done, they have to swap horses and go clock in and out with a different horse. So they work 4 hours per day. And they have 1 mandatory day off. And this is all managed by an app. So we know for a fact that they're not working too many hours. Now, they will take them out sometimes in the evenings for riding for an hour, or they may take them to the ocean for swimming. But again, they're not working. The horses have load limits. So the load limit on the cart is 500 kilograms. You'll notice the carts are very unusual in manufacture, and they're kind of bent up like this. They're fashioned after oxen carts, which have been used in Asia for many thousands of years. And the really cool thing about these carts, which you guys are welcome to mess with the empty one here if you want when you come back, is that they're incredibly well balanced. So when the cart is empty and you bend it down and you hold the part that's going to sit on the horse's back, you're going to hold about 70 kilos of weight, right? When you put 500 kilograms in the cart, that part reduces to only 50 kilos because of the balance of the wheels. That's called physics, guys. And so that means that the force required to move it is only 50 to 70 kilos of force versus 500 kilos of force to move it. Horses can pull without wheels 3 times their body weight. So they can certainly pull with wheels 70 kilos of force without any issue. And we are on a flat island with roads. So they're not overloaded. Now what may happen is if the cart is improperly balanced, it's going to pull up or pull down, and that just means the cart has to be rebalanced. And this does happen is the cart will be balanced towards the back, and then you'll see when the driver steps on the front, the cart is suddenly perfectly balanced and off it goes. And that's what they do. There's steps on the front made specifically to balance the load on the cart when they're carrying a heavy load. So they don't work too many hours. They're not too hot. They're not overloaded. Do they drink water? Weirdly enough, these horses do not drink very much water. The majority of their water is given to them through their food. We generally have in our paddock here 5 or 6 horses throughout the day. And in my home country, if I had 5 or 6 horses in a paddock like throughout the day, they would drink that bathtub of water in 1 day. That bathtub of water lasts 5 days and we have to throw it out and change it. That's how little water they consume. Almost all their water is consumed mixed in their food, and they are fed and watered 3 times a day, and they are fed and watered overnight. There was even some veterinary professionals who doubted us when we said, no, they're not dehydrated and they don't drink water. So they did a study from 2019 to 2021. They took 500 horses across the 3 islands. They drew blood from them and they measured how many kilometers per day they work. And they did each horse for like 10 days, right? And of the 500 horses, less than 10% were dehydrated. So, and that was not what their hypothesis was. Their hypothesis was that they were all dehydrated, so they proved themselves wrong. Less than 10% were dehydrated, despite a lot of work and very little water consumption. Just like desert-bred animals, they are adapted to not drink a lot of water. And in fact, if we give them cold water while working, they can become sick. And we have seen horses die from that because they're not adapted to it. It's just like if you're a marathon runner, you never take a cold drink from someone on the side of the street because it can make you sick. They're almost always drinking warm or tepid things, and it's usually not water. It may be flat beer, it may be Gatorade, but it's usually not plain water because it can make marathon runners sick as well. It can make horses sick. So they don't give them water. It's not cruelty, it's just adaptation to the environment. You'll see that they have metal bits in their mouth. Is anyone here familiar with horses? One of you. Do you use a bit in your horse?
Yeah.
It's pretty much what everyone uses, right? Do I like them? Not really. I think there's probably better ways. The horses I personally ride, I ride without a bit. However, none of these horses are castrated. They're all stallions, so they're feeling pretty frisky. And there's lots of males right next to each other, so we do need bits to control them for safety. Plus, if small humans like those loud ones run in front of the horses, they have to be able to stop them immediately. So we use bits. Now, unfortunately, when you put a piece of metal in your mouth for 4 hours, you're going to drool. I mean, any of you put a coin in your mouth for just 30 minutes and you're going to be like, you're going to drool, right? So yeah, they do drool when they have bits in their mouths. It's not a sign of dehydration. It's not a sign of discomfort or stress. It's just what happens. And you'll see 2 of our horses here who will go out on our walk with us, both Riot and Atlas. They drool for no reason at all. And Riot sucks on his tongue, and he's always got his tongue, and he's the happiest, most spoiled horse on the planet. So you see these weird things, like their tongues hanging out. So it's just horses, man. They're weird animals. It's not that they're abused or neglected or anything. When we started this project, the horses were literally dying in the streets. There was no veterinary care, and there was really no monitoring going on. Once a year, they would have a clinic. So when we started the project, the horses had an average body condition score of a 1 to a 2. So body condition score is somewhat like body mass index. So a 0 is emaciated and a 5 is obese. Most of the horses in the UK or any cold country are going to be a 4.5 to a 5 because they need the extra fat to maintain body heat. But in desert climates, people are skinnier, right? Because they get too hot. Same with working animals. So when we started, the average body condition score was poor. It was 1.5 to 2. It was not a good score. Now, 10 years later, our last evaluation, the average body condition score was 3 to 4. 4 is ideal. 3 is fit. So we've changed the horses. Less than 10% are thin now. When we started, 60% were thin. When we started, 75% of horses had wounds from either rubs or hurting their legs or whatever. Now less than 15% have wounds. When we started, 80% drank salty water. Now 90% drink fresh water, and we provide free fresh water. They didn't keep any records back when we started, so the average age when we examined them the first year when we checked them all was about 2 to 3 years of age. And the rumor was that the horses lived a very short life, and what happened is they didn't die, but they would get thin from malnutrition and salty water, and they would go back to Lombok and be traded. So they would get a healthy one. So they weren't dying, but they were trading them off because they didn't understand why the horses here were getting thin when the horses in Lombok were fat. Does that make sense? Because they didn't have the education. Now what we learned is it's because they were drinking salty water and they were doing too much work. So the average age was 2 to 4. Now our last examination, the average age is almost 12. So the horses are living longer, they're fatter, they have fewer wounds, their feet are better cared for, and they are healthier. We do annual clinics every year, which are mandatory for the horses to come to on all 3 islands. And then we do quarterly checks 4 times a year. We go out and just randomly spot check the horses to see. We have a walk-in vet clinic every day that's free from 4 to 5:30, and it's generally quite busy. Last night I think I saw 11 horses. So we offer free gelding, which is castration. We offer free foaling services, so if their mare's going to have a baby and they wanted to have it in a safe and healthy environment, they can have it here. We offer rescue and rehabilitation, although to be honest, 90% of what we rescue now comes from other islands. We're reaching as far away as Java, we're reaching Sumba, we're reaching Sumbawa. We're not rescuing hardly any from Gili Trawangan. Now we may hospitalize sick or injured horses from here, but we're not rescuing from here, not any longer. Where in the first few years we were rescuing from the islands very frequently. We have lessons for children, not those children. We have lessons for children because we believe teaching the youth is the future. And the one thing we're really trying to impart into the local community is more compassion. Because of religious and cultural differences, they don't see animals as pets, and they don't see animals as feeling pain the way humans do. And if you've been taught that for 300 years, I can't unteach that in 10 years. But what I can do is import more and more compassion into these people, and they do care. There are people who will come in and bring me a horse, watch how that scratch like this big, and they're like, oh my God, it's hurting so bad, we've got to fix it. And then you have the opposite where the horse is like dead lame, and they're like, oh, do you think it's okay? So you have both spectrums, and we have both spectrums of guests, because we have the guests who don't care, and they'll put 7 people in a horse cart, which is incredibly rude and disrespectful. Or you have the lady who's screaming at the people in Central because they're not giving the horse water. So you have people. So our original goal was to educate the locals. We've done that. We've changed the laws. We've educated the locals. We have a huge local following, and we have a very successful clinic and stuff. Our goal in the past 3 years, especially post-COVID, has morphed into educating tourists about working animals and about the importance of the human-animal bond. It's incredibly important for tourists to realize that working animals are part of human life and that we are not going to do away with them, nor should we want to, because they are part of why we exist and why we have succeeded as humans. And we should respect them, care for them, and love them, but also be partners with them. If the human-animal bond wasn't so popular, pets wouldn't be so popular, because pets are just the watered-down version of working animals. And pets have more mental and physical problems than working animals because they're usually not getting the mental and physical stimulation they needed to be bred for. So what we're going to do today is you guys are going to meet some of the horses, get to groom them. They're all rescues for one reason or another. You go on a beach walk to the beach, take them swimming and hang out. You can go out in the ocean with them. You can leave your bags here. Take like your camera or phone or whatever, and then bring them back here. And we do this because we want you guys to see how our facility functions and what we do. And we want you to see what we're doing to try to make our little corner of the world a better place. And to try to educate more and more travelers who travel other places. So if you go someplace like Egypt, you can determine if the horses are abused or not. Because Egypt, you have a huge divide. You have a lot of horses that are really badly abused, but you also have a lot that are really well cared for. It's not as simple as don't use working animals. You have to evaluate the working animal. Does that make sense? You can't just not use something, because you can't not use working animals here. Did you sleep in beds last night? Where do you think the beds came from? Horses brought them there. Did you have beer? Horses brought it. So it's not as simple as you can't use working animals. What it is you can use them ethically. And you can make sure that they're used ethically and humanely. The same goes when you visit anywhere where there are working animals out in public. And you have to realize behind the scenes, in every country there are working animals. We just put a study up on our Instagram and our Facebook regarding working animals in just the main countries, the UK, the USA, Australia, I think 6 major countries, regarding the number of working animals in there. And it's quite surprising how many working animals are there that you don't see. So our goal is to educate people in those respects. We are on all of the active social medias, and we are 100% donation based. It costs us between $5,000 and $7,000 US per month to run this facility. We have 4 properties, and we have approximately 25 horses at any given time in our facility that we're taking care of, plus the walk in and walk out and the other things we're doing. We have a team of long-term volunteers, and we have a team of volunteers who come in and stay for a while and get some experience and then go on. And then we have great tourists like you guys who come to visit. Do you guys have any questions? No? All right, well, let's get to it then, okay?